Greetings, pilgrims. Welcome to another episode of the Polygon Pilgrimage. And today I want to share with you part two, the final part to my entry here, which of course I did not get a chance to finish because I bit off way more than I could chew. But hey, that's what happens. You know, we have a grand idea, and I will be continuing this idea. I am working out a schedule right now to get back into live streaming. And if I can get that going, then we are going to finish this project from head to toe together live during those sessions. So don't worry, this is not going away. We have a lot of great ideas here that we are going to finish up with. But for today, I wanted to share with you a couple of quick things. There's a material that I created that people were asking about, and I created these cool panels here and some of these neat designs and some of the patterns here you guys were asking about. So we're going to go over exactly how I did those. And today we have one piece of functionality that I did get finished before the deadline is we have our teleporters. So you see here, if you look at this thing, now in the final game you're going to have to actually sacrifice some light here to activate it. But once you have, it'll say beam across, and over here is its mate. So they'll be kind of twins. So there'll be like a gap between these. And then when I press the button, I'm across the gap, as you can see. So it does a couple of things. It animates the FOV of your camera, and then it teleports you across. So you get that nice kind of, people call it a fisheye, but I don't know if it's exactly a fisheye effect, but we get this nice teleport effect. So we're going to go over exactly how I did that. And do note that the first part of this, the fact that I can walk up to it and press the E key, is due to those great tutorials from the other gentleman in the first video. There's a link in the description to his tutorials. I don't want to take any thunder away, and credit where credit is due, so follow those tutorials. They are fantastic. They are step by step, and none of this, even the graphic here, is all created. Well, he does create the graphic inside of another piece of software, but you can do all of it without anything else other than Unreal, and it all works. And then what I will show you today is how to create the effect, and then you just have to supply your own model and texture. I'm not going to give these out because this is going to be a part of my game, but any model here, it's just a stand-in. It really is just decorative, and you press the button, and I will show you how to make the teleporting actually function. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. So we'll start off with the teleporter, since that's probably what you came for. It's the most interesting. So these teleporters are a child of the base interactable object. So when you go through the other gentleman's tutorials, you generate this BP interaction parent. And if you right click and say create child, then it'll create another object here, and this one I called BP teleporter. So let's go over and take a look at them one tab at a time. So for the viewport, I did a couple of things a little fancy, so pardon me there, but what I did here was I've actually added a couple of meshes, the crystals, these guys here, and these are just decorative. I just wanted crystals in the middle here. I'd always planned for this gap to have a crystal embedded in that, and then the lights here are just some lights to make sure that those glow. And those are just added here. They're all children, as you can see here. So just drag and drop to make sure that the lineage is correct here, and then all of that just kind of sits there. It has no function. It's purely decorative, and you can do all of that from inside of Unreal. Now, the other thing I added was this spawn arrow. Pardon me. So this is an arrow component. It doesn't actually show up in the game, but it's just here for us to see what's going on. And this one doesn't really matter which direction it's facing, so I just left it alone. But I called it spawn point, and exactly that, capital S, capital P, and then we'll get into why, but this is what actually makes the ball of light appear right there. And that ball of light is simply my BP light ball that we went over last time. I made a copy of it, and all I did was I removed the component that allows it to move. So if you look here in the viewport, it's just a ball of light. So it's just a point light and a sphere with the material applied. That's all it does. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't move, nothing. So that's all I wanted. So I called it static light ball. And the difference between him and the light ball, let's take a look at that real fast. I'll show you. Besides it doing some other stuff here, it has this projectile movement. And I just took that away. Basically, I took that away, and then I went to the event graph and just cleared this out. It does nothing. It just sits there and glows. Okay, so if we go over to the event graph here, you'll see that I have two sets of code here. This top part, this is the ball of light thing. So on event begin play, on parent begin play, because this is a child object of the base class. So this is just extending the begin play. Just think of it that way. It's just kind of passing it forward, saying, okay, yes, you're a child of something. Okay, so what do we do now when we start the game? When you come to life in the world, what do you do? Well, we want to spawn an object. We want this object to be of class static light ball. And where do I want to spawn it? Well, I want to spawn it at the position that is held by this spawn point. And that spawn point is this arrow. So now I can move it up and down. I could change my mind. We could even animate it to slowly kind of bob in place. I think that'd be pretty cool. I do think I want it to kind of bob in place and sort of pulse in the end. But that's all he does. He spawns him and he just exists there forever. Okay, cool. So that's all we need. So now, here's everything that it takes to make the teleportation effect. It's really not that complicated if you break it down into what the simple things are. Okay, so let's walk through it together. So when you've completed the tutorials for the interaction, you'll get this event interact at the beginning of every child of a base interaction. So what this says is when the player walks up to the thing and presses the button to start whatever the interaction is for this object. It could be a pickup item. It could be a thing that turns on a monitor or starts a cutscene. For us, it's going to be to do the teleportation. So on this event interact, we have access to our character, and we have the begin execution. So what we want to do is first we need to store our camera's current field of view because we're going to be animating it. We're going to be changing it. We need to make sure that we can snap back to where we were. Otherwise, we have this funky kind of wide-eyed look to us the whole time we run around the rest of the level. And that's not cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here under variables, click plus variable. I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to call it original FOV for field of view. And it is going to be a float. And then do a compile and a save. And then you'll see this default value appear. And you'll see it says original FOV. Perfect. We're going to leave it alone because we're going to fill that value programmatically. We're not going to change it right here. You could set it to 90, which is typically what it starts off with if you're doing the base template for a first-person creation here. But we're just going to leave it alone because we will dynamically fill it because that way, if you have changed your FOV in your settings, say you want to go more like a old-school Quake look, and you're doing like a 100 or 120, well, then this will get automatically filled with that, and it won't be set to a default that's not what you wanted. Okay? So from here, we're going to drag out from our character, and I'm going to say get first-person camera. And here we go, first-person camera. And from here, I actually dragged out and said get field of view. So you drag out, let's do field of view. There you go. So you can say set field of view. That's going to get you this. But if I drag out and say get field, I think I got to do get camera. Get camera view. And it is get first-person camera. There it is. Okay? So we're going to get our camera. Then from here, I'm going to say get field of view. There you go. Get field of view. So that's this here. You see these? 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? I'm just kind of redoing it so you can see it. Okay, so from there, we're going to drag our original field of view into the thing here and say set, and that's going to do it like this. So then we'll plug this into that. You see that? So this guy goes right here. We're going to plug that in. And then we're going to say, whatever our field of view is, let's plug it in there. And that's going to store it for us so we can come back to it, okay? That's the important part. That's really the crux of it. And then we're going to animate it. So to animate it, we're going to create a new timeline. So if you say add timeline, you start typing that word, there it is, add timeline. Okay, I'll redo this so you can see what it looks like. See? Here you can click once, and then you can start to, click once. Slowly, there you go. Now we can call it something. So FOV animation. I have to call it something different because I call this animate FOV. So if you double click this, it'll open up like this and it'll say, okay, how long do you want this to be? Well, we want it to be really short, so 0.5. And we need it to be a float track. So we're going to click float track. So here you go. So from 0 to 0.5, here's what we're doing. So I'm going to right click and say add a new key. And I'm going to drag and select over that key and say at 0, I want your value to be 0. Okay, then I'm going to right click and say add another key. And I'm going to say at 0.5, I want you to increase by 60. Okay, so now if I hit enter, you'll see I'm pulling back on the mouse wheel here. And you'll see that it's going way up there because it's a really thin track, but it goes to a really high value. That's okay, we'll just drag until you can see both of these. Now drag and select both, right click and say auto. And what that does is that's created a nice thin curve for us. It's a little hard to see here, but if I go over to the other one, can you see it easier? No. On some other graphs you'll see it's a nice, the line goes kind of like this, like, you know, but because it's so short, it gets squished this way, so it's very tall and vertical. Okay, so that's good for that. So then once you've done that, you'll notice that this guy will light up. So this is the value that's getting pumped out every update. And the way this timeline works is it's going to go across and it's changing the value as we go. So what we do here is we say, go into play from start. That's very important because we don't want to play from where we are. We want to play from the beginning every time. And what do we want to do? So over here, I'm going to take the FOV and I'm going to drag out of this our original FOV and I'm going to say float plus float. Okay. Now, what I've got here, I don't think it really matters, but I have it happen to be top and bottom just for organization. Visually, it looks better. We're going to take our value here from this guy, and we're going to plug it into that. So now what we're doing is, as this runs, as this updates, it's going to be adding the FOV plus whatever that value is. And remember, we went from 0 to 60. Okay. So now, then we take this and we plug it into our set field of view. And we get this off of our camera here. So if we drag off of camera, say set field of view. There it is, right there. Okay, so that's that guy right there. And we're just going to plug that value into there. But remember, our target here is the actual camera because we're altering something on the camera. Okay, so that does it right now. But all that will do is make your camera go crazy. It's not going to actually move your character. So that's what we need to do now. So we're going to create another variable over here, plus variable, this guy. We're going to call it opposite spawn. And in here, you're going to type the name that you gave your teleporter, the name of this thing you're actually working on right now, this guy right here, BP underscore teleporter for me. So I do that and then choose the reference. Reference will appear over here. Click on that. Okay. Then we'll compile and save. And you'll notice that this will appear here. And it's blanked out for now because we're going to set that in the editor. So don't worry about that right now. But do check editable and expose on spawn just in case. We're going to compile and save. Okay? So when we are done animating the camera, that's when we want to actually do the snap teleport. So it's going to do the camera gets wide and then we snap and we're across. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to come off of the finished and start doing things. And what we're going to do is teleport. So if you right click, let's see, come on, right click, teleport. It's just a function, transformation function. And that's what this guy is here. So he needs a couple of things. First, we plug our finished into teleport. So as soon as it's done animating the camera, do this. Okay, what am I teleporting? Your target is going to come all the way back here from the character. It is the thing that initiated this whole sequence. Okay, so that is our player. Where am I going? Okay, well, to get that, we're going to pull in our opposite spawn from here, do a get, like that. Okay, going to drag off of it and say get actor transform. Okay, and watch, I'll show you this because this is important. Get actor transform. Now, transform is 3 pieces of information. It's where you are in the world, what scale you're at, and what your rotation is. But we only really want to mess with the where you're at, and we might want to use the rotation. So what you can do is on the return value here, if you right click, you can choose this thing that says split struct pin. And that means take this pin, and it's actually 3 pins combined. Let's crack it open and take a look at what's inside of it. So let's do that. And when you do that, you'll see just as above here, I get access to all 3 individually. Okay. So from that, what we're going to do is the rotation, we'll just drag that right over into there. Okay. So this means that you will rotate to the way that the teleporter is facing, so that's good. You'll teleport just past it. Okay. Now, as far as the location, this is a vector plus vector. So if you drag off of here, this is a vector, so it's 3 pieces of information, X, Y, and Z. Vector plus vector. And you can give it a change that you want to occur. So what I've done here is I said go to this position plus 50 on the X, 100 on the Y, and 200 on the Z. This puts it kind of a little bit in front of it and above it, so you kind of drop onto the ground again. I figured that would be a cool effect. Okay? So now if we drag that into the desired location, Now we're actually teleporting. One more thing we have to do. Now that we're done teleporting, remember our camera is all wonky because we did the effect, so we need to set it back. So again, you can copy this guy here, the set field of view, paste it up here. Again, the target is the camera. And here we're going to use our FOV that we captured in the beginning. So if we drag that over here as a get, and you just plug that guy right in there. Okay? And now with all of that done, let's compile and save. We have one more step. So we're going to put this guy in the world, and I made a copy of him and dragged him over here. Okay? Now you'll notice that when I select this guy, let's select the first one. Over here, he's got a couple of things under the default category, which we could name that if we wanted to. The FOV is 90. I typed that in. I was just playing with it to make sure. The opposite spawn here, I can now click from this and choose a list of things in the world. And for this guy, teleporter 1, in quotes, his opposite is teleporter 2, is that guy over there. So now if we go over to him, select him, you'll notice his opposite is listed as teleporter. So it's the first one over there. And for each of these, you can name whatever you like for here the interact description. So this is all part of that tutorial. Interact description, I called it beam across because we're dealing with, you're going to become a beam of light and beam across. So that's the idea here. All right, so let's take a look. So hit play, walk over to him and say beam across. Whoop! And now I'm facing the direction he's facing, this way, and I'm in front of him. So then I hit this, whoop! And the idea is that I could just keep running, like, whoop, and there we go, keep going. Now notice that I can move a little bit, so what we need to do is also reach in and stop the player from moving during the teleport sequence. And I've also noticed that you have to put a little bit of a gate operation in here to prevent the player from being able to press the button multiple times. Watch what happens if I spam the button. If I spam E, oh my goodness, it's going nuts. I think it's because it's trying to teleport while we're already teleported. And look at this weird, look at this. This is just, the world got crazy. So you need to put a little bit of a gate operation in there and say, when you press the button, you go into a state. So that'd be like a Boolean flag and say, while I'm in this state, don't allow it to also do it again. You know, that kind of thing. So there we go. So we have our teleporters. And you notice from last time, this is my interact. I need to name it something better. I'm going to name it like fixed lantern. So again, you would apply some light to this to turn this lantern on. And he does all of that. Very cool. Okay, so with that complete, the next question I had was about the cool patterns we have on this and some of the cool patterns we have on these guys and how did I create these patterns. And there's no Photoshop involved. This is all Substance Painter. So I'm going to show you how I did those. And some people said that it had kind of a Destiny kind of look to it. Some of it, I thought that was pretty cool. It was a nice compliment. So we'll take a look at that, okay? Let's fire up Substance Painter. Here it is. And I'll step you through a little bit of how I did some of this. Okay, so to create these, I made very heavy use of a particular set of the alphas here that come with Substance Painter now. These are the J-Row, which is by Jonas Rowengard. And I'll put a link to his ArtStation in the description. You've probably seen it before, and again, it comes with Substance Painter. But particularly if we scroll down a little bit, there are some of these that I think turned out really nice. The best ones, for my purposes, were just down here. These guys here, these vents, these really cool shaped vents. I really like these. So I made heavy use of these, and it's a lot of additive and subtractive work. So for example, say we're going to work on the top section here, okay? So let's go ahead and add a new fill layer. I think that's how I did it. Yeah, new fill layer. There we go. Just so that it covers up everything. And now add a new paint layer. Okay. So what I'm going to do is select my paint here, and we're not going to affect anything except the color. Okay, we're just working with the color. And I'm going to come over here and say my alpha. Good. I already got an alpha set. And I'm also going to do a mask just because I don't want to mess with anything except what's here. So let's do that. And I'm going to say polygon full. There we go. So we're only going to work with this little area here. Okay. So let's grab just a couple of these. This, that. Let's make sure we've got it all. Okay, so there you go. So we're only going to work in this area. All right. That just means that if I try to, click over here, nothing's going to happen. Okay. So what I did was let's first establish some large shapes. So I'm going to come in here and just kind of do one of those. And then I would come over and say, let me grab a wholly different one and let's rotate it, say 90 degrees. Okay. And we start overlapping and start kind of establishing different things. Like let's try, let's go smaller and go down in the corners here. So try to be kind of evenish. Like that, like that. That's cool. And then let's take one of these guys and we'll go real big on top like this. Let's overblow it, just kind of overdo it. There you go. So something like that, right? So that already looks pretty neat just by combining shapes. But now the real magic is removing them. So I'm going to switch to a wholly different shape. There we go, one of these. And I'm on the subtractive side of things now. I'm actually doing the eraser tool. So now if I come over here, if I do erase like that, look at that. I get this really cool shape by removing from a previous shape. So again, let's come down here and we'll make it a little bit smaller. Just do like that. There we go. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll try to find visual markers. So I'll put the bottom of that dotted line circle, and I'll try and line up along the edge of this thing. So that's just my kind of keyframe. So I'll do that. That's cool. I like that. And then we'll come over here and do the same thing over here. Okay, so now let's switch to a different one. So I keep moving around to make sure that I'm not using the same ones over and over again. And some of these have some really incredible shapes to them. So this one in particular I really like because of the cross hatching in it, as we saw earlier with that. But now as a subtractive tool, it's even better. So if we come up here and subtract out of that, see, look at that. You get some really cool kind of, I don't know, it just reminds me of like alien architecture. It's very, very kind of sci-fi. So I liked it. I thought it was a nice juxtaposition. So let's subtract from that. And then you can go real small. And some of them I tried this. It didn't really work for the pieces I was working on, but if you go small and kind of repetitive like that, that's pretty cool. And to get those kinds of things, one thing you can do is do a mirror effect, right? So if I do a mirror effect, then I can do that, and I'm working on both sides at the same time. Make sure everything's nice and even and it lines up across these edges. So now what's really neat is now if we turn off the mirror, let's turn off our fill. See, we can put this guy on top of that, and I can have a whole other set of layers. So if you look here, I've got them organized. Glyphs bottom, so this is just the bottom parts. I could change those out if I needed to. Glyphs top, so there you go. Let's trade out the glyphs that we just did. So here's the exact same teleporter, but with our new top glyphs. So those glyphs are in place there. And hey, it looks pretty good, right? We only spent a few seconds, but the right tools in the right manner, in the right way, and just kind of playing with how can I use this tool both in an additive nature and in a subtractive nature is so much better. And let's take a look at the plates. We'll discard all that. We don't want to change any of that. And so here's the plates. So the idea behind these were that your society has lots of buildings that are very reflective and they absorb light and they retransmit light. It's all about light for your society. So this was made in much the same manner. So this guy, if you look at my masking here, really what it was I have two different materials, the gold and the sort of bronzy kind of background to it. And these are made using all the same stamps you just saw, some additional ones, and just messing with the masking of this material. And it ends up looking really cool with it's literally just two materials and a really clever mask. And so the idea was that some of these plates would have fallen down into the catacombs with you, and you're going to use these to reflect some light and to kind of create more light than there really is in the area with you. So let's jump back over here. You can see one of them in game over here. Let's see. Yeah, this guy right here. That's that guy we were just looking at. So let's take a look at him in the world. There he is. And I should be able to shoot ball light. You can see it. Very cool. So working on kind of a reflection mechanic. See, this guy is very reflective. And I know there is actual planar reflections in Unreal. And I'm working with that to also try to create sort of a bouncing light like down a corridor sort of effect. So that's how we created these and even the ones here on our lantern. Those were all created in the very same manner. The same set of stamps there, just using our alphas cleverly in different ways, and created something really cool, really fast. That was kind of the important point for a game jam, was you got to be fast. And here's another guy over here. He's just kind of hiding out, practicing with reflecting lights. Not quite there yet. So, well, that's all I have for today, guys. I hope that you have very much enjoyed, and I hope that you make some cool teleporters. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know as always. And as always, until next time, keep practicing, get better, and I'll see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.